Welcome to the lesson, Conduct of Forensic Accounting Investigations. Now, candidates, conducting forensic accounting investigations involve a specialized approach to uncover financial irregularities, to uncover fraud or any other financial misconduct within an organization. And the process typically includes 1, accepting the investigation, number 2, planning, number 3, evidence gathering, and lastly, reporting. So in our today's lesson, we are going to go through the 4 steps in more detail, beginning with accepting the investigation, accepting to carry out the investigation. So that's the first step, accepting the investigation. Now, forensic accountants are usually engaged by organizations. They may be engaged by regulatory bodies or even legal professionals in order to conduct or investigate financial discrepancies or suspected fraudulent activities. Then the forensic accountant reviews the details of the case. After being invited to investigate a case, then the accountant reviews the details of the case, including the nature of allegations, the scope of the investigation, and any other objectives, specific objectives or requirements. So first of all, the forensic accountant is engaged. And the forensic accountant, I've said, may be engaged by organizations and may be engaged by regulatory bodies and so on. Then number 2, at the acceptance of the investigation stage, the forensic accountant reviews the case in detail. The forensic accountant reviews the case in detail, reviews the details of the case, including the nature of allegations, the scope of the investigation, and any other specific objectives or requirements. Then, after reviewing the details of the case, then it's important that the forensic accountant assesses their expertise and resources. Assess their expertise and resources. After the accountant has understood the details of the case, then the accountant needs to check if he or she has the expertise or resources required to undertake the investigation. Assess their expertise and resources to determine whether they have the necessary skills and capacity to handle the investigation effectively. The second step is planning. Planning the investigation. Once the forensic accountant accepts the case, they develop a comprehensive plan for conducting the investigation. Must come up with a plan. develop a comprehensive plan. Develops a comprehensive plan on how the case will be investigated. And candidates, the planning phase involves identifying the specific areas or transactions to be examined. It may also involve setting investigative objectives. It may involve establishing a timeline for completing the investigation. That is the planning phase. I've said it involves coming up with timelines. It involves coming up with specific areas. The plan may involve specific areas. It may also include investigation objectives. Timelines, etc. Timelines, etc. When is the case expected to be completed? There has to be timelines for completing the investigation. Then the accountant is then required to consider the legal framework, consider the legal and regulatory framework, consider the legal and regulatory. The forensic accountant should then consider the legal and regulatory framework relevant to the case, as well as any potential challenges or constraints that he or she may encounter during the investigation. Are there any constraints? Could there be legal constraints? So I should consider the regulatory and legal framework relevant to the case, as well as potential challenges and constraints. So that is C. Then D, they then coordinate with relevant stakeholders such as the legal counsel or internal audit teams. Coordinate. Let me have it here. D, coordinate with other teams. They should coordinate with relevant stakeholders, coordinate with relevant stakeholders like legal counsel, the internal audit teams, to ensure alignment and cooperation throughout the process. Internal audit teams to ensure alignment, because these are the individuals or persons that the forensic accountant is likely to be seeking information from. So the forensic accountant has to reach out to the relevant stakeholders like the company lawyers, the internal audit teams, so that they can align as the forensic accountant prepares to begin the investigation. So this is coordination with relevant stakeholders like legal counsel or audit teams. So this is step number 2. Step number 3 is evidence gathering. Evidence gathering. Now here the forensic accountant collects and analyzes financial data. A, collects and analyzes collects and analyzes financial data and also related documentation to uncover evidence of financial irregularities or fraud. Then 2, he then employs various techniques. The forensic accountant then employs various techniques such as data analysis, forensic interviews, and document examination to gather relevant evidence. Forensic interviews, data analysis, and so on. The accountant may also review financial information or financial data or financial records, may review bank statements, may review financial records, bank statements, may review bank statements, may also review invoices, may review contracts or other information relevant to the case in order to identify inconsistencies or hidden transactions or even indications of fraudulent activities. He may also use specialized tools. The forensic accountant D may use specialized tools and software to analyze large volumes of financial data. And software to analyze large volumes of data. Specialized tools or software to analyze large volumes of data. This software can also help in identifying trends, identifying patterns, and detecting anomalies. And doing what? And detecting anomalies. This is step number 3. Step number 1, step number 2, step number 3, evidence gathering. Then lastly, I'll move here to the 4th step, which is reporting. Reporting is the last step. Now, after gathering and analyzing the evidence, the forensic accountant then prepares a detailed report summarizing the findings. Prepares detailed report summarizing the detailed report then summarizes the findings. Okay? Summarizes the findings and also the conclusions. And this report, candidates, presents the investigative process, outlines the evidence collected, and also provides an analysis of financial irregularities and fraud discovered. So this report gives the details, presents the details of the investigative process, the forensic accountant must give a detailed analysis of the process. Okay, detailed. It's a detail on how the investigation was done, the process. It also outlines the evidence collected. It should outline evidence. Supposed to outline, the report should outline the evidence that was collected and provides analysis of financial or fraud discovered. Within the report, there has to be analysis of any financial irregularities or fraud discovered during the forensic audit. Do you understand? This report, again, even before investigative process, the report should outline the tools, description of methods used, description, the methodology of methods used to uncover irregularities or fraud. Remember, we talked about softwares, tools, specialized tools, and so on. So that should be part of the report. A description of the methods used. There should also be description of any limitations. Did the accountant have any limitations when carrying out the investigation? And it could also include recommendations for remedial action or further steps. Do you understand? And this report, candidates, should be prepared in a clear and concise, objective manner. Prepared in a clear, concise, and objective manner. This report should be clear, should be concise, and it ought to be objective. Presenting the facts, presenting interpretations, and also expert opinions to support the conclusions. So these are the 4 steps in forensic accounting investigations. Number 1, accepting the investigation. Number 2 is the planning phase. Number 3, evidence gathering. We have outlined how the evidence is gathered. Then number 4, reporting. There has to be a report at the end of the investigation report. So is that clear, candidates? So that is forensic accounting investigations. And in closing, I need to say that forensic accounting investigations require expertise in accounting principles, require expertise in auditing, require expertise in financial analysis, may also require expertise in the knowledge of legal and regulatory frameworks, and so on. So the forensic accountant must adhere to professional standards, maintain objectivity and independence, and also ensure that ensure the confidentiality and integrity of the investigation process and findings. So thank you for attending the lesson. In our next session, we'll continue to study more about forensic auditing. Bye-bye.